One of the biggest things I've learned about productivity is that you can't just rely on motivation. You need a system. At least I do. I don't have the willpower to keep things going for a couple of weeks or a couple of months or even years. So I've experimented with a bunch of different methods and apps and strategies, and I'm landing on a routine right now that I think has been really helpful. So since we've been doing these Thursday productivity tips, I thought it would be helpful to just talk through what my day looks like, how I track tasks right now, plan my work, and make sure I get things done without burning out, hopefully. Any tips you have, please share down below. I've learned so much from you, so let's hop in. So start of the day, no phone. I'm still using my phone as an alarm. I probably should get an old school alarm clock, but I have very strict focus modes on my phone that make it to where I can't see email notifications and a bunch of work notifications before 8 a.m. and then after 5 p.m. And so I turn the alarm off on my phone. But thankfully, I'm not waking up anymore seeing red alert emails or people who tried to get a hold of me at like 3 or 4 in the morning, which would happen very often, and it would set me off completely. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you see like this urgent or bad like work text, your sleep is ruined. So what I was also doing too is I would wake up and scroll Twitter or Reddit or something, and that was destructive. The start of your day matters a lot. I try and keep my mornings as deliberate, low distraction, and structured as possible now. And when you start your day laying in bed, scrolling on your phone, not only are you depleting, your dopamine stock right away, because social media like Twitter or whatever, it's designed to give you those outragey posts, the algorithm's hottest hits. So that's no good. And then you're not even starting the day with your own thoughts. You're starting it reacting to somebody else's. So if you can, do not look at social media. Do not get away from the phone from the start of the day as much as possible. I go and I start making coffee. Coffee gets made first, no distractions, and it's a habit that I know I will stick to. In Atomic Habits, the book we talked about by James Clear a few times in this series, he talks about habit stacking, I think is what it is called. If you want to do a new habit, tie it to something that already exists, a habit you've got going. And coffee is one that I know many people just don't go without. While the coffee's being made, I power on my computer and I make my bed. Quick, easy win. Then pour the coffee, get in the office chair, throw on some focus music, and immediately open Google Drive and pull up a Google Doc that I have titled Morning Manifesto. This is a concept I heard from the YouTuber Ali Abdaal, where you just write a full page in Google Docs. You just word vomit. Whatever's in your mind, write out a full page. That's the first 15 minutes of your day. Sipping coffee, writing, which is pretty much journaling. There's some times where I will probably integrate a more formal journaling prompt, but for the most part, I love this habit because it gives you the chance to just say whatever's on your mind. It will help you clear your head, and it often sparks ideas that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And when I first heard about this, I thought it was silly. The first few days, I didn't like it. I've got, 30 some odd pages in this Google Doc, and if I miss that morning manifesto, everything feels off. I feel scattered and like I haven't had a chance to even organize my day. No structure, no editing, just whatever is on your mind. Now, I can throw a link down below for some cool, chill, focus music, but one thing to do, YouTube's great. If there's a playlist of music that you really like, good focus music is amazing to work to. So put it in a playlist, bookmark that playlist. Don't go to the YouTube homepage. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So, morning manifesto is done. It's time to shower, do the morning routine, eat breakfast, all the usual stuff, but make it consistent. Try not to rush around too much. And I always try and have Notepad on my phone ready to go. Because sometimes the best ideas of the entire day come from showers. The phrase shower thoughts is there for a reason. It's no distractions. Again, you get a little bit more time to just think. And if you have an idea about a task or something you need to do, get it out of your head as fast as possible. For years and years and years, I tried to just catalog it. Oh, I should remember that. I got to remember that today. Anytime you say that, you need to shift that habit towards writing it down. Write it down in something that you can access easily. For me, an easy little notepad on the phone is going to be the best way. That's where a ton of video ideas come from. You just write it down, you get it out of your head, or a reminder about work or something like that. Then I pack a lunch for the day. I make a sandwich and some carrots and an apple and a few other things. And I've been doing the sack lunch route as much as possible because it's saving money. It's one less decision for the day. I don't have to worry about, do I have time to drive to a place to go get a burrito today? And then you also can just sort of look, if you're buying, sandwich ingredients or whatever your lunch of choice is at a store, for the price of like 1 or 2 times eating out at lunch, you can have basically a full week worth of food. And then I try and think about it this way too. It's like, well, if I'm saving, $30 by missing those 2 burritos, $30 at this point is like a bunch of games on a Steam sale or like a good PS4 title or whatever. So not that you want to immediately blow the savings on something else, but it's helpful to just justify it as another thing. All right, we're at work now, and this is when the real day gets started. Before doing anything else, I do a big task dump. I open Notepad on the PC. If you're on the Mac, it's called Text Edit. And I start writing down everything I need to do on that page. Whatever comes to mind. The tasks I know I need to tackle, I put down. Doesn't mean I have to get it done today. Maybe it's a week or a month task or something, but I need to get it out of my head as fast as possible. And typically you'll end up with a list of like 8 or 9 things. You don't have to prioritize just yet. You need to just get it out of your head so you're not mentally juggling tasks all day thinking about what should I do. And then from that list, I start prioritizing. What's the most important? What needs to be done first? And what can wait? And then I start assigning things in an app called Todoist, which is just a checklist app. I've recommended it. I think it's cool because it syncs between your phone and your computer. But I think I'm going to be switching here soon to an actual paper notebook I take with me or a Google Doc pretty soon. Todoist free version makes it pretty cumbersome for you to see the tasks that you've ticked off. I like the gratification of checking something off and then being able to look back over the last few weeks and going, wow, I did that. I did like 10 things that day. And they make that kind of tough in the free tier of Todoist. I will say for any of you who are in agile work environments, you're probably familiar with tools like Asana or Trello. Those are really good tools as well. But typically, if you're using those in the context of a team, you don't want that to be like the first thing that you do. The checklist that I'm building is for me. It's not for the team. This is just my way to prioritize tasks so far. Again, if you don't know what those tools are, both are really cool productivity managing tools. And Trello is this cool board where you can basically make columns. And what typically happens in Agile is you'll move tasks from one column to the next, from like the backlog into doing into done review. Like it just helps when you're on a big project that has a lot of layers to it. And there is usefulness there, but I probably wouldn't send or recommend people down that rabbit hole to begin with. If you get comfortable just opening up Notepad on your PC or Text Edit on the Mac and throwing notes down whenever you have something you need to remember or a task or whatever, your life will be improved substantially. For years and years, I made the mistake of trying to remember it all, and it would cripple my ability to focus because just like opening up 100 tabs on a browser, your brain only has so much RAM available, and you don't want it just junked up with a bunch of pretty useless reminders and things that you have to do. Okay, so you've now assigned your little checklist. You've got an idea of what needs to get done. Next, I try and tackle the hardest work first. I try to front load all the deep work in the morning hours. Morning is usually creative and focus heavy work. For me, that's a lot of writing. Afternoons are when I try and keep meetings and administrative stuff and pretty much all the tasks that I hate and I don't really want to do, like the things that are very low impact. Everybody wants to schedule meetings in the morning and I hate it. And if I can control it, I typically try and push meetings to the afternoon. And sometimes some roles, depending on where you work or what you do, sometimes meetings are like a huge part of your day and you can't get around it. But meetings are always about talking about work and not getting work done. And what's really irritating is if you're in a position where you like manage a team or have contractors or whatever, you probably got to that leadership spot because you were a very good doer. And then when you get into the meeting flow of managing other people, it's so difficult because you could just do most of those tasks more effectively. And so talking about doing those things is not doing them, and it drives me up a wall, but I understand that's just a skill to improve and focus on over time is how do you delegate and empower others while still respecting your time. So morning meetings ruin flow. By the time you're over, you're already in a reactive mode instead of deep focus. And notice we are not even at the check email stage of the day. I try my best to not check email the first thing in the morning. Even if you try and scan your email to be like, oh, well, there's probably tasks in here that I need to prioritize. That can take an hour. That can take you down rabbit holes. That can absolutely change your train of thought as to what was actually important. Maybe there's a team member causing a ruckus or whatever. And you focusing on that only puts out a fire. It doesn't actually help get done the tasks you need to do. So remember, if you do look at email first thing, you have to be very cautious not to react to other people's priorities instead of working on the ones you know are best. So I try to check the email after I plan my day. The final step, you've got your checklist. I open up my calendar and I put actual time blocks for the things I want to get done that day, for the deep work, for the meetings, and for the breaks. If you work in a place where people will send you invites to meetings without checking first, a good habit to build is start filling open gaps. Fill your time blocks first so you don't get a random meeting interrupting your day. This is something I have to work on because so often people won't reach out first. They'll just see an opening on your calendar and then they'll book it. They'll be like, that's fine, that person's available. We're going to do it at this time. And that might just destroy your flow of the day. So with your to-doist list, your checklist, your priority list, whatever you've got, go to your calendar and be like, okay, this task is going to take an hour. This one's going to take 2. And literally put those on the calendar so that you know what the day looks like. All of this shouldn't take very long, by the way. Like ultimately, this is about a 10 to 15 minute process at the longest. And there you go. That is like the best method, in my opinion, for me, not for everybody, but for like what I have figured out is like flowing nicely and going well to basically start diving into the day. Email is something I will look at, but I set a time block on it and I set a limit. And so if I schedule an hour of email time, that's the time to look at email. Sometimes I break the rule. Sometimes I open it. And some roles you have to. Some roles you just have to be available, right? The more you manage others and teammates, especially if you're a blocker, the more you have to be aware of those things. If you have a really hard task, let's say you need to write something or just any task that requires a lot of deep focus, the Pomodoro method is really good. It's basically a 2-hour time block method where you do 25 minutes, full focus work, no distractions. You take 5 minutes off, 25 minutes on. Full focus, deep work, 5 minutes off, quick little break. And you do that 2 more times. So it's basically a 2-hour big window, and it keeps you from procrastinating on big tasks. It can help you have like this finish line in sight instead of going, I have to work 2 hours in a row here. I don't use the Pomodoro method all that much. I forget to take breaks, and a lot of times I'll burn out in the afternoon because if I'm in like this flow state, I'll just keep going. I'll keep working. I'm fine. And then you're totally gassed for the afternoon. And that's basically the workflow that I try to do. And then you get through the day and hopefully it all goes well. Plenty of times it doesn't go to plan. Something can show up and blow up the priorities or whatever. But I think the biggest point is if you can go in with intention, you're not going to get yoinked around all day long. And then you have the ability to say, no, I'm not actually available from, 11 to noon for that meeting. I have time available from 3 to 4 because the best work you do is at that time. And the task you've chosen is like the most vital to the company or whatever in that moment. It gives you a leg to stand on instead of just being like, well, I didn't have anything scheduled. Sure, let's do it. Because after years and years of letting other team members like control your schedule or even months, Burnout hits hard, frustration is there. So most of this is just boundary setting for yourself. Okay, the end of the workday has arrived. Drive home. I try and get a workout in before dinner. I'm a cyclist. I love mountain biking. So typically I will hop on Zwift, which is this sort of, it's like a video game for road bikers basically. And I'll throw out about an hour-long ride and then dinner time. I don't like working out super late. I prefer working out in the morning, but it's really cold right now. So this is just how it's fitting into the day. Now, once we've hit the end of the workday, like I said, I have a focus mode that automatically activates on my phone. It turns off work email between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. And I love it. I super, super recommend it. And I try very hard to have everything done that I've wanted to get done and mentally tell myself I'm shutting down, we're turning the computer off, I'm not checking work until tomorrow. Then we've made it to the evening, dinner. This is YouTube content creation time, chores, responsibilities, maybe getting groceries or whatever you need to do. And when I get the time to record for YouTube and make videos like these. Then I try and go to bed by 10 p.m. I'm typically up at 6 or 6:30, pretty much been 6:30 lately, but there was most of the last month I was up at 6 doing it. And trying really hard to not do too much screen time before bed. Won't lie, I've been playing some PlayStation 1 games before bed. That's been super fun. So that is my daily routine right now. I know there's areas to improve, but this has been helping a lot so far this year. The biggest takeaways, if I were to just, summarize the whole video, no phone first thing in the morning, no social media, none of that stuff. Try and get everything out of your head first thing of the day at work. Try and tackle the big important tasks before you check your email or get sucked into meetings, and then blocking off time on the calendar so you do follow through and so people don't hijack the day from you. Shut down properly, the focus modes help. That's about it. I would really like to hear from you. What's a habit or a system that has been helping you stay productive? Please drop it in the comments. I learn a bunch from you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope everybody has a very good Thursday. And I'll see you again very soon.